Hi and welcome to another story, and today we have Ned and the Chocolate Cheats by Mark Jarvis. Mark is a good friend of mine, so I really wanted to promote this one, and yeah, hope you really enjoy this story, guys. So let's get straight into it with part 1.
Prologue. It was dark now. They saw their moment. "Go!" Rufus shouted. Crash! Mrs. Perkins' mobility scooter smashed into the shop window. It was not enough to break it completely, but it weakened it for the pack of dogs to burst through. Broken glass tinkled and twinkled onto the ground around them. The dogs furiously attacked the bars of chocolate on the shelves. 12 sets of sharp teeth chomped and ate every one of them, including the wrappers. It all took seconds. Now, as quickly as they had entered, the pack jumped out. "I'm going to wish I hadn't eaten all that," panted Scruff as he scampered away. "Yeah," puffed Rufus frantically, "especially when those tinfoil wrappers come out again." The dogs raced through the streets, splitting up to avoid detection. They were on their way to the next target. But would it be so easy? Chapter 1. Hey Dude. I stood at the back door. This is one of the ways I show people I want to go out to the garden. The people think they're in charge, but who picks up my poop? Think about it. Dogs, especially handsome-looking, long-legged Jack Russell Terriers like me, are definitely in charge. Sort of. The garden smelt good. I snuffled and sniffed the wall and the washing line post. They smelt nice and strongly of my wee. I weed on those places again to make sure others knew it was my garden. I smelt another smell in the air and looked up. There she was, sitting on top of the stone wall. "Morning, Gizmo," I called. "Hey, Ned, dude," the cat replied. Gizmo, like most cats, thought of herself as a cool surfer type. This is bonkers, really, as most of them hate getting wet. Cats like to behave in an awesome and trendy way. I often saw Gizmo hanging out in the Sticky Bun Cafe that I went past on my walks. Gizmo could be seen with her flat, bright animal coffee, writing something on her laptop. Now she was above me on the wall that separated our gardens. "Did you catch the news about the sweet shop, dude?" she asked. As she spoke, she licked her paw and rubbed it over her ear. "That's gross, Gizmo. Don't do that," I said. "Gross. And this coming from a dude who sniffs bottoms," she laughed. "But no, Gizmo, I didn't hear the news. What happened?" She looked down at me. "Hey, you know that old dude, Mrs. Perkins?" "Yes," I said. "Well, last night a pack of street dogs drove the lady's mobility scooter through the sweet shop window. They stole all the chocolate. Most uncool." "Wow," I replied. I sat down and scratched the side of my tummy. This was not particularly bad news for me, as chocolate is poisonous for animals. For the people, this was very bad. Not only was all that chocolate stolen, but it also meant that animals were now committing crimes. This was serious stuff. I hope the dogs who stole the chocolate didn't eat it. Being a dog myself, I knew that they probably couldn't resist the urge to scoff it all. "It's a doggy dude, ram raid dude," Gizmo chuckled. "This is animal organised crime," I said. "It's a worrying thing. I need to tell my person about this." Dogs and cats have been living in human company for thousands of years, so it was inevitable that they should learn to talk. It was bound to happen. Once the talking starts, it can lead to picking up all sorts of other human habits, good and bad. It didn't take long for many other animals to learn the skill of talking. Some are better at it than others. Some don't talk at all. I looked up at the fluffy tabby cat, now stretched out in the sunshine. I tried to raise one eyebrow and appear serious. I couldn't do it and just looked like I had wind. "Take a chill pill, dude," Gizmo purred. "They were only after the chocolate." She went to sleep. Scrambling to my feet, I turned towards the house. I sniffed the air and walked towards the smell of my person. Being a Jack Russell, I am short and strong. I found it quite easy to nudge open the back door, which had closed a bit in the breeze. Once inside, I bounded across the room. Jeff was sitting on the old leather sofa, reading a book. I jumped up next to him and pushed my nose up under his arm to make sure I had his attention. "What on earth?" he exclaimed in surprise. "Ned, old pal, what's the matter?" Hey, listen to this," I shouted excitedly. I reached up and licked his face. Slurp. Being able to talk didn't mean that I could stop myself doing dog things. He had the crumbs of this morning's breakfast still on his beard. Cornflakes. Nice. "Yuck," my person said, as he wiped his face on his sleeve. "Okay, you have my attention. Do try and sit still. You'll get hairs everywhere." Jeff scratched his tummy through his unironed t-shirt. My person's proper name was Cornelius Jefferies, but that is rather a mouthful. Ever since he was at school, everyone had just called him Jeff. All that matters to me is that he is my person. "Okay, Ned, this seems important," he smiled. "That will make a nice change." As he grinned, his eyes twinkled behind his round glasses and he pushed back his unbrushed dark hair. "I do love you," I thought, "but you are scruffy. People might shower every day, but I still look and smell better than them." I stood up and shook, shedding little hairs everywhere, and then sat down again. Jeff brushed the hairs into the floor. "Listen," I said, trying to get to the point. "You know the sweet shop just down the road from here? The one that smells of licorice? Well, Gizmo, the cat that lives next door to us, told me that yesterday evening, just as the shop was closing, the window was smashed and all the chocolate was stolen and eaten." I said this quickly and stood up, my tail wagging in excitement. No way, Jeff exclaimed. But who would do such a thing? He shrugged his shoulders. Ah, well, that's the really amazing part. It was a gang of dogs. Wow, Jeff said in wonderment. But isn't chocolate poisonous for dogs? Yes, dogs know that, but we just can't help eating it. It's the wonderful smell. It just smells so good. I wagged my tail again at the thought of chocolate. You dogs are always thinking of your tummies. Jeff laughed. He picked up the remote control and flicked on the television that was fixed up on the wall. It came to life, showing one of the news channels. I looked away and started on some serious self-grooming. It's important to always look your best, I think. People like us to look good. Some of them spend a lot of time and money paying for us to be groomed. If we look good, they look good. It's just one of the many ways we help each other out. Mainly, though, we just like spending time in each other's company. Cats, on the other hand, are different. Most of them only spend time with people when it suits them. Goodness knows what cats get up to other times. Most other animals think it's better not to spend more time with humans than necessary. A gang of dogs, you say? Jeff asked. He scratched the end of his nose in thought. That means that they must have organised the crime themselves, doesn't it? Now I think you should look at this. With a flourish of his wrist like a magician, he pointed the remote control at the television and paused it from where he had been watching. It came onto the rolling news channel. Read the breaking news that's going along the bottom of the screen. I know you're a good reader, he said, turning to me, now as I sat beside him. I saw you reading an article about ticks and fleas on my smartphone yesterday. By the way, how did you learn my passcode? He raised a questioning eyebrow. Never mind that now, though. Look at the screen. I read the line of sentences that was moving along the bottom of the television on a red bar. It said, more mysterious chocolate robberies. Reports from around the country. Police baffled. Well, what do you think of that? Jeff asked, turning around to me again. Gizmo's story is just one of many. It's happening everywhere. Did the dogs organise the crime themselves? I wonder. Or is someone organising them? I sat up smartly on the sofa. Right, I ordered. Take me for a walk. I need to speak to other dogs and cats and find out what they know. My person slowly got to his feet. Considering he ate so much, he still looked quite slim. I guess it was all the walks that I made him take me on that kept him so fit. I jumped down onto the carpet, which was once a cream colour, and gave him my best, "You're not going out looking like that" look. He must have understood because he mumbled something and disappeared for a few minutes. I sat and waited patiently. There might be a biscuit in this for me, I thought. When Jeff returned, he was looking a lot smarter and smelling soapier. He said, "Ah, good boy," and fed me a meaty flavoured treat that he found in his pocket. I tried to be still as he was putting on my lead, but the whole thing was getting so exciting. "Okay," Jeff announced. "Are you ready? Walkies." Jeff leaned over to me to open the front door. I haven't yet worked out how I can open it myself, and I pulled him out, down the short path and onto the street. I think of my lead and harness as a safety belt. People wear safety belts in cars to keep them safe if something unexpected happens. My lead is the same. For example, I might come across a really important smell that I have to investigate. I might not be able to think carefully as the smell takes me across a busy road. You have to really concentrate on these smells, and you have to follow them wherever they go. Then wheel on them, of course. I have to let everyone know I was there. The worst is fast-moving things, as I just can't help myself. I have an uncontrollable urge to chase them. Once again, my person keeps me safe, as I would even run out in front of the traffic to chase the fast thing, like a squirrel, for example. I would not be a very good unaccompanied animal. I'm not really sure what I would do if I caught up with the fast things. Growl and bark at them, I expect. We walked out towards the local little cafe and bakery called the Sticky Bun, and turned right towards the sea. The sea was one of the good things about living in Plymouth. It was never far away, and there was always a familiar salty smell in the air. It's nice to come back to if you've been away. We turned off to the left, and Jeff unclipped my lead, as we were now walking along a bramble-hedged footpath. The lead's down to Radford Park. Parks are super-duper smelly places. I felt an overwhelming urge to run just off madly and poo somewhere, but not just anywhere. It had to be the right spot. It had to smell right. When I'd finished and had a shake, I was feeling super satisfied. My person did his job and picked up my poo in a little plastic bag. Biodegradable plastic, of course. I insist on that. "Right-ho," I announced. "Just give me a few minutes and I'll see what I can find out." "Okay," said Jeff, getting his smartphone out of his jeans pocket. "Good luck. Try not to get distracted." I bounded off, following the smells to the nearest bulldog. Bulldogs are often a great source of information. They might not be very active, but because they sit still, they can do a lot of listening. It didn't take me long. The bulldog was sitting down next to a park bench on which his person was perched, talking to her friend on her phone. "Hiya," I said enthusiastically. "Good morning," replied the large brown and white dog. His folds of floppy skin were moving up and down as he spoke. A pair of dog reading glasses hung on a chain around his neck. "Brrr," he snorted. "May I help you?" I shook myself and, with the usual flurry of hairs, and sat down in front of him. There are a few other dogs and people walking around in the park, with a group of little people in shorts, kicking a ball to each other. Apart from that, the tweeting birds and the bulldog's person on her phone, it was quite quiet. I just wanted to ask, I said, have you heard about the pack of dogs stealing chocolate from the sweet shop? Yes, he said slowly. OK, good. Well, have you also heard that there are packs of dogs doing the same thing all over the country? Yes. Oh, right, I continued enthusiastically. Well, Gizmo, the cat, told me about our shop, and then, when I told my person, he showed me that on the news it said that the police are baffled. I said the whole thing quickly, and the bulldog took his time before answering. Yes, he agreed slowly, and I was wondering if you knew anything more about it. He wasn't giving much away, the bulldog. Yes, he replied, sliding his front legs forward until he was lying down on the grass. Is that yes, you do know something more about it? Or if you do, then could you tell me, please? Yes, he paused and scratched his side with his back leg. I hoped this was worth waiting for. He turned his big head to look at me. Do you know that the robberies all seem to have happened at a similar time, within a few hours of each other, he asked, and that they all involved a stolen mobility scooter? Well, that must mean they were all organised. They must be all planned, I answered. How do you know all this? It's my person, the bulldog replied. She talks a lot on her phone. Her friends who live in London have friends who have family and friends who live all over the place, and they have friends and they all like to talk. He snorted again. I just like to sit and listen. Wow, this is so exciting. I stood up, looked around and sniffed the air, catching Jeff's smell. Thank you. You've been very helpful. Yes, he replied as I bounded off. I couldn't wait to tell my person. Chapter 2. Flat Bright. Really? Jeff said as he walked back along the uneven surface of the flagstone pavement, with little weeds growing in the cracks. Now that information makes the idea of it being an organised crime seem even more sensible. Yeah, I agreed, straining at my harness, feeling enthusiastic and wanting to get somewhere fast. Suddenly I stopped. There was a smell of another dog by the wall. The smell told me that it was quite a little dog. Quite an old dog too. The wee smelt like he had been licking the sweets called humbugs. We moved on. There is a lot more information to find out, I continued. The police just say that they are baffled. Does that mean they have just given up? Oh, look, said Jeff, not really listening to me. Isn't that your mate Gizmo? He was indicating towards the window of the sticky bun. There was a fluffy tabby cat sitting at one of the tables with what looked like a coffee and a silver-coloured Apple Mac laptop in front of her. Yes, you're right, I replied, pulling towards the door. I'd love a drink. Thanks for asking. One of those flat, bright drinks like Gizmo has, please. Jeff groaned, and we went into the coffee shop. I was pleased to see that the poster I'd asked to be put up in the window was still on display. It was a poster in support of better facilities for animals. Most of us still live in the traditional way, with a person. There are a few animals now, though, who are living unaccompanied. This means they live by themselves or in a group without a person. This is still quite hard to do, as if you don't have hands, you find it hard to do the simplest of tasks. Living unaccompanied or not, I feel strongly that there should be more facilities for animals. Some animals have jobs and pay taxes, so we have rights. I have recently written to Larry, the number 10 Downing Street cat, explaining my point of view. I have been collecting signatures and paw prints for a petition. Jeff unclipped me and sat me in the seat at the same table as Gizmo. Hey, dude, purred the cat. The flat, bright animal coffee is way cool in here. That barista is a talented coffee-making dude. What are you reading? I asked. Is it the news? Because I found out some amazing stuff from a bulldog in the park. I paused as Gizmo leaned over, closed his eyes and slowly sniffed her animal coffee, taking in the aroma. Can I just ask though, Gizmo, how do you get your laptop to the cafe? And how do you pay all your flat, bright animal coffee bills? That's easy, dude, she replied with a chuckle. My person carries the laptop over here for me. We've got a little account running at the cafe, which she pays off every couple of weeks. She says that she would rather know where I was than just wandering the streets. Dude, anything could happen out there. This suits me just fine. That sounds like a perfect arrangement, I agreed. My cat jokes are great. Jeff returned with the drinks and a rather grumpy expression on his face. He put them down on the table in front of us and sat down. Undoing the zip on his coat, he said, No wonder we don't come in here very often. Do you know how much these cost me? Hey, you gotta pay for quality, dude, said Gizmo. Jeff mumbled. Why do you animals always drink those flat, bright animal coffees anyway? One, they are always served in those low, wide sort of cups, I answered. Watch. Both Gizmo and I simultaneously leant forward and started lapping at the froth on top of the coffees. You just try lapping out of one of those tall latte glasses, dude, exclaimed Gizmo. It's like major face froth, even if you've got a long tongue. We all stopped and watched a tall and slim Weimaraner dog waiter delicately manoeuvre around the tables. She had 4 hot chocolates on a tray, which was fixed to a harness on her back. And 2, I continued, normal coffee and tea have a chemical called caffeine in them, which is really bad for cats and dogs. These special flat, bright drinks have no caffeine. They're creamy and frothy and help to keep our teeth clean and bright. Gizmo and I grinned, showing our white teeth. Anyway, I said, becoming serious, sitting up and slipping a little bit of the shiny surface of the seat. These chocolate robberies, they are happening everywhere. Like I said, it's organised crime. So you keep saying, said Jeff, leaning forward so the both of his arms rested on the crowded tabletop. He looked behind him over both shoulders to check if anyone else was in earshot, and then lowered his voice so that only we could hear. But organised by whom? And that is where we will leave part 1 of Ned and the Chocolate Cheats by Mark Jarvis. I'll be back soon with the next part of this fantastic story, and lots more coming your way, lots of videos, lots of stories for you to enjoy. If you'd like to subscribe or hit a like, that's always appreciated. I'll be back soon. Thanks for listening, guys. Goodbye.